So, funny thing about this video, I know I've been gone for a little while, but for some reason, this video stopped recording about 3 minutes in earlier. And the thing was, I did about 2 games in a row. So I'm going to talk about everything I just talked about 10 minutes ago again, and pretend that I didn't just do it. So let's go ahead and get into this. This is Top Esports Karsa on Diana playing into EDG's. I don't know exactly the jungler's name, but on Rumble, right? There are a couple of things I wanted to discuss earlier on that I actually did discuss in the previous video. Her runes mostly, right? So first, you see she took Conquer. Conquer actually basically just to make it so that you're A, getting ramping AP, and B, being able to actually just sit there and brawl with people and just kind of heal through some of their damage. The second part of it is the fact she took Inspiration Secondary. So Inspiration Secondary, what you see that she actually ends up going is she ends up going Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight, right? Now, this is something that I've been talking about with my players for a while, which is Futures Market, and LS just made a video on it. So I think that if you want more of an in-depth deep dive on it, I would check that video out. But I feel like he should have probably gone Futures Market in this game. It's an insane item. It's an insane option, especially for AP junglers. The main reason it's so good for AP junglers over AD junglers, first of all, is that if you get your full cure off and then get Crab, it leaves you around 900, 950 gold. Meaning on reset, you can reset and buy an 1100 gold item, right? 1100 gold is a big spike for AP junglers specifically, and basically because most of them are building manaless mythics, right? So you can either get full Sork shoes, which is nice for just the MS and the flat pen on it, or you can go for Hextech Alternator, right? And Pink Ward out of base, right? Depending on what's going on, these are both options you can end up doing, and I feel like that's so much of a more of an insane buy and an advantage than just buying components or maybe like a Dark Seal and an Amp Tome out of base, right? Or maybe Dark Seal. I guess you're not going to get Boots 1 because you're trading it for Magical Footwear. But on top of that, another reason why Magical Footwear is so insane that's often overlooked is the fact that AP items on AP junglers specifically, this season have had a lot of their power shifted from just the raw AP that they give you to the passives and actives attached to them and their actual completion, right? Big examples of this are Void Staff, which literally basically doubles your magic penetration by completing it. Death Cap, which gives you like an extra 60, 70, depending on your previous AP, gives an extra 60, 70 AP on completion. Zonia's completion, I guess that one's a little more arguable because of the existence of stopwatch, but still, like so many of these items have a lot of their power budget put into the actual completion and the active, with the components being kind of shit on their own, actually. So being able to, I guess, at the 25, 30-minute mark, reset and be able to finish an item like with an extra 350 gold, and actually finish an item instead of just kind of sitting back and not having a crucial completion for an important fight, is something that can't be understated, right? Because you have to keep in mind every time you borrow from the shop, quote unquote, every time you do that, you're only burning 50 gold, right? That's something you're gonna get just walking around for like 20 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, it's worth it almost every time that you do it, and on top of that, you don't burn 50 gold for every purchase you make. So every time that you go over limit, if you have the gold to do it, you should also be buying pink, so it also should increase your pink game on top of that. Because you're having access to so much gold that you wouldn't have access to otherwise, and you should be able to use that and turn it into something. You know what I mean? And like I said before, especially in AP junglers, it's something that's so important to pick up. And I understand that on Diana, being able to have that extra MS to, I guess, stick to targets, and you want backline access and you want all that stuff. But Futures Market, it really can't be understated how important it is, especially in AP junglers, right? So let's just go into the game from here. So from here, see basic 5-point. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit. So yeah, you see basic 5-point. They end up walking in, trying to look for vision. And from here, Diana looks like she makes a decision to start at her Raptors, right? So first she's going to start at blue, but then she eventually said she's going to start at Raptors, right? One of the decisions that you can say for her to actually make this is that, number one, she wants a solo start. because all of her laners want to be in lane at level 1, right? You don't want your bot lane to lose the level 2 battle to Varus Alistair. You don't want your top lane basically you don't want Sett to be able to walk into Lee Sin's wave and zone him off wave entirely, so you can't have Lee Sin leash. You can't have bot lane leash. Obviously mid lane's not going to leash. And the easiest camp for Karsa to do solo and get level 2 off of fastest would be the Raptor camp, right? Mainly due to the fact that he has a fair amount of AoE between Q and cleave on his passive, so he just kind of looks to end up doing that, right? He ends up dragging this over here to ensure that he can cleave all 5 at the end. I'm just going to get his clear off, right? Alright, gets that. Skip ahead a bit to the point. So here he does like kind of an odd reverse clear. The reason I believe he does this, number one, is because he can't really look to make a play on top side here, right? Due to the fact that his top lane matchup is essentially just Lee Sin into Sett, there's no real gank assist, and there's no way you're realistically going to kill Sett at that stage in the game if you're just a clear bot to top. Because normally a clear that you would see what Raptors red, Krugs, and then Diana just goes to clear up between Wolves blue grump, right? Instead, she does a weird reverse clear. So again, she like level ones her Raptors, looks to clear a blue side, and then goes back down bot, right? At this level of the game, if she wants to make a play anywhere on the map, it would be at the Aphelios Thresh lane, right? On top of that, the easiest place where she can actually look for fights would be Aphelios Thresh and then the Viego in bot side river. Because if she tries to make a play on top side river, just due to how strong Sett is at this stage in the game, especially if it comes down to Crab, right? If she tries to make a play on top side river over Crab with how strong Sett is in the game between Sett and LeBlanc, there's no way that you actually win that 3v3 at any given point in the game, right? You have a shot to win the 3v3 if it's the 4v4, I guess it'd be bot side, if you're looking at Viego, Thresh, Aphelios, instead of just Sett LeBlanc, right? So that's another reason she kind of wants to, if a fight happens in the river over Crab, she wants to actually have the best chance possible of actually contesting that Crab, because it's uncontestable on top side. So she doesn't want to have to finish her clear top side in case Rumble also finishes the clear top side, and all of a sudden he's getting double Crab for free at that, and she gets a delayed level 6, right? Because that's the main downside of, like, obviously double Crab sucks for a lot of reasons, but a very, very big downside of double Crab is that it denies you level 6 off your second clear. Alright, so she has to end up clearing this. So at this stage in the game, based off, again, I'm pretty sure Karsa realizes the world just by looking at waves. You see that Sett's stacking wave top. LeBlanc is kind of looking to get her waves in here. You should be kind of calling out that there is a dive that's looking to be made topside, right? This is a very common play, just level 3. You stack the wave, bring it in. Have either, if your mid laner is someone that can get easy prio and can get easy push in, you have them just walk up. Usually through right here into tri-brush behind tower, walk out with jungler, and you 3-man topside. However, if you're mid lane to someone like LeBlanc that doesn't necessarily push very well, what you'll see instead is you'll see her just pushing the wave back off and then just TP to a minion under tower, right? Usually when you're being focused by tower to ensure that the wave stays alive for longer, right? And this should be getting called out just based on what's going on with the mid and top waves. That is either a possibility or something that's guaranteed going to happen. Because another reason you pick LeBlanc is for those early fights like that, because Chain just makes it so nice for that level of assist. So as soon as she walks off the wave, it's being pinged that, hey, she's walking topside. But if she doesn't walk topside, it's just a TP, right? They 3-man, and Viego matches TP to basically make it so that they can't just get the kill for free. Something that Karsa does here is actually really, really important as a jungler, right? Karsa makes a decision to clear the wave, right? Because based off where the wave is right here, if he doesn't come and just kind of looks to just kind of keep clearing his clamps, what's going to end up happening is this wave is going to eventually look to slow push back. It's going to go in and then slow push back to LeBlanc, and what LeBlanc can end up doing is setting up a freeze or holding wave for a while, and then looking to make a play on what could be, I don't know if Viego blows a splash in top fight, but looking to make a play with her jungler off of a frozen wave on her side of the map, right? So Karsa, understanding this, looks to kind of get the wave in. And what this does is it puts LeBlanc in a spot where not only is that play not a possibility, but on top of that, she has to actually she can't actually just reset, or else she's gonna miss out on a lot of minions, right? So normally, if the wave gets left there, what she can do is she can reset, buy Dark Seal, maybe like a Potter or a Philibert or something, walk back to lane and have the wave nicely still pushing to her. Because of this is happening, she ends up just walking down, catching the minions, and then that's that, right? And it basically makes that Viego's lane is actually playable. It's a little bit unlucky for Diana that she had to burn Smite to do it, due to the fact she doesn't have Smite for the Crab Shield, but it's not the end of the world because you know it's going to be uncontested because Rumble was just on top side, right? Alright, so she gets this. Looks she just kind of finish her clear. So far, pretty simple. Yep. Yeah, pretty straightforward clear from here. She's gonna kind of look at. She should just be looking to finish her clear and then reset. Alright, still ping missing. Alright, clear is. She's gonna get this camp because that's the camp she started off with before she finishes off. So at this point, she's one side off 6, right? Unfortunately, so what you notice, there's a couple things that you need to note here, right? Number one, when Rumble came top the first time, he was level 3, he had blue buff, he had 12 CS, right? Put all those things together. What he most likely did is he most likely full cleared his bot side and then walked up with LeBlanc, or sorry, not with LeBlanc, walked up with LeBlanc TP to gank topside, right? Being level 3, having all those things in order, knowing that bot side also leashed. His blue side's gone, his top side still has to be up, right? After that, he hits level 4, he gets crab. Obviously, in order to hit level 4 in that situation, what you need is you need to get the full clear plus crab, right? Or sorry, full clear or 5 camp plus crab. So because he has red buff now and he still has red buff but doesn't have blue buff, what you can assume is he just cleared his top side. If you press tab, and I believe he does multiple times, check he has 28 CS. Because he has 28 CS, you can assume that he cleared his 6 camps plus crab, right? Because each camp counts as 4, right? So knowing that, knowing what his path is, what you can assume is that there's no way he can possibly ever be topside after reset, right? Just in case, because of the fact you know that Rumble hasn't reset yet, because he still just has refillable and jungle enchant. You know that if they actually walk to this fight, you win it. So you just make sure that Viego on reset just kind of walks to help out, help make sure that they're not taking this crab, or not this crab, this Grump. So because of what I mentioned earlier, you know that Rumble, unless he just doesn't care about farming at all, there's no way he could possibly be topside. He would have just had to clear out his topside jungle. You know that your bot side's still, or sorry, Karsa knows that his bot side's still not up yet. So what you can do is you can just walk up topside, look to make a play on the Sett, right? So here, I hear he does some things that make me think that he wasn't actually looking at anything that I just mentioned, even though he definitely should have been, and all the information's there, right? Because he ends up checking. I understand checking Krugs, right? I understand checking Krugs just to make sure that you saw everything correctly and it's all right, right? What I don't understand is checking Krugs and Raptors. You know that he would have had to full clear. You know that he full cleared plus crab. You know that when he showed up the first time, all he had was blue buff. So where does he have to be on the map right now? He has to be bot side. There's no other place he could possibly be, right? So it comes up here, forces out W. Now that W is forced out, Sett's guaranteed dead, right? They understand that. They make the play. It's easy, right? You know that Rumble can't counter just due to the fact that he has to be on bot side because of all the stuff we mentioned earlier. End up resetting together. And resetting with your jungler is something that's like super important, right? Or resetting, I guess, with a laner, with your laners. Because what ends up being possible is you end up getting to come out of base at the same time at the same place. So if someone's contesting you in your jungle, or you wanna contest someone on something, you end up being able to walk there together, and you're not actually having to like hurt anyone and like stop someone from heading to where they need to head. Before that, right? So as blue's coming up, you know that again, Rumble was on bot side. He should be in his top side now. What he can do is he can look to make a play on your blue buff as it spawns. You just walk there with Lee Sin, so that if he's there, you basically just one-shot him, right? Because at this stage in the game, if Rumble actually wants to wait for Diana, especially if he's like waiting with high heat, so he overheats as ultimate casts, knowing Diana doesn't have ultimate, knowing Diana, and knowing how strong Rumble is in 1v1 with heat, if Diana walks in there blind and Rumble is there, I'm pretty sure Rumble actually just outright kills her 1v1. Diana has no flash, she has no ultimate, she has no real way to get out. She just gets one shot by Rumble in that spot if he's not there. So having the know-how to walk with Lee Sin is super important. So you have just kind of contesting vision around the bot side. You have Viego walk down just because he finally gets pushing a little bit. Now that you know Rumble's top side, you can look to make a play here, right? End up getting that down regardless. Like, this is something that should pretty much always be happening. If jungler shows on one side of the map, you should be making a play you should be looking to make a play on the other side of the map, right? You know that it can't be countered. You know it looks good. This should be something you're always looking to do, right? This is something I think is a little bit int. I mean, they're in a spot where I understand Diana's ult is up. I'm assuming what they were thinking is that they could just look to one shot and then maybe trade 1-for-1 in a tower. Or I guess in this case it'd be 2-for-2 because Aphelios also died earlier, but they're putting themselves in a spot where Thresh is just way too low HP to make that play. They should know that. They don't. It's unlucky, right? Right, so she's kind of just looks to continue clearing her camps. Takes a reset. Should be, what does she end up purchasing here? So just based off what's going on in general on the map and the fact that she showed that she was bought for that long, especially once Alistair's there, you should know that this is already either currently being taken or gone, right? You know that you're on bot side for way too long. You know that you're bot side around the timer that you would be able to do Herald and Sett as permanent priority, right? On top of Sett having a permanent priority, you have LeBlanc there that after she gets Lost Chapter can look to kind of get some level of priority in the lane. You should know that that's either gone, that's gone by the time you're going to be able to get there, right? So the main goal there is to protect your camps and ensure that you don't get like your entire top side stolen afterward. So because of what just happened topside, they look to kind of just make a play over here. Lee Sin's normally very, very weak, and it's like the play's never actually possible. But because of the fact that they have their TPs, and Sett is so deep at this stage in the game, they know that the 2v2 between Lee Sin and Viego, if the TPs come down, is more than enough to actually like kind of win here, especially if Viego gets at least one reset. All right. So they end up trading 2-for-1 there. Feels good, looks good. And the next play should be over Dragon, essentially, because that's the only objective really realistically left on the map. Diana's bot side is up. Rumble's bot side should also be up. Knowing that, but knowing that he can't possibly actually get to a play on bot side without stepping over that pink, as long as he doesn't actually show on there, they're pretty safe, right? So they kind of look to force. They end up forcing out Verisalt. They know that his flash is still down from the prior gank. They know that they can look to. They're basically looking to abuse this timer, right? Knowing that Varus' flash is down and knowing that now his ult is down as well. If he ever steps up in lane without any help, especially because you know if Rumble's going to be there just based off of the word that you placed in there that Thresh placed in bot jungle, if he ever steps up, he basically just dies to you, right? Guaranteed to die to you. Till then, Karsa just kind of does his stuff here, clearing out his camps. Viego clears some vision around Drake, and that's that. So what you can see here is like it's immediately recognized. Number one, Alistair is not with Varus. Number two, Rumble is not bot side, or at least it's not close enough to actually realistically help the Varus if it comes down to it, right? So what's allowed to happen is you just kind of understanding your damage as an assassin, especially a carry like this, is super, super important, right? Being able to understand when someone is in lethal and when someone is actually like in range to die, especially like if people are going to be blowing flashes, is super important at this high of a level, and it's good that they can actually do that, right? Well, she just did that for mana. Ends up taking Drake, due to the fact that Rumble's showing on top side and the fact that you just got the pick on bot side, right? Even if Rumble decides to show, for whatever reason that he was on bot side, let's just imagine there's a role he's on bot side, right? If he decides to show, as soon as you kick Varus, the fight is no longer winnable for you, right? There's other good team communication thing that he does here while he's doing the Drake. What he does is he has Thresh check to see if his camps are actually there, right? Because if his bot side camps are up, sorry, if his blue side camps are up, then what ends up happening is Diana gets a little bit more farm. It feels nice because it would have been something that she would have been looking to check anyway, right? So checking the blue side camps are up, checking that those are there is really, really important for her. because it saves her about 15 seconds of her checking herself, right? One thing she doesn't want to do is she doesn't want to lose her blue side, knowing that Rumble has control, knows that she's on bot side and has control of her top side. Ideally, if you can, you're looking to actually trade blue sides if possible, right? Unfortunately, it's not possible. The scamps are still down, but it's still nice to check, right? All right, she ends up getting her items. Karsa's timing TPs and flashes in chat. Can't fully see it behind his portrait, but it's there. So he knows his topside camps are gone just due to the fact that Rumble went up there with Sett. There's no way those are there, right? Instead, he just kind of looks to clear out pinks and looks to place a pink of his own in time for next Herald spawn, right? Or to make a play on topside. So unfortunately, Knight misses a stun, plays dead. This looks kind of just gets poke damage onto LeBlanc, and that's that, right? So he doesn't really have too much to do now that his topside's been taken. He's mostly kind of looking to clear his camps, maybe clear out vision where he can, and contest crabs, right? Okay. Yeah, apologies for any low energy here. I started filming this at about 1 or 1:30. It's about 3 a.m. right now. So if I seem, low energy or slowing down a little bit, that's the reason why. Right? And again, this is the second time I've filmed this today, and it kind of sucks. So, yeah, Diana just goes at her camps. It's pretty easy. Looks clear at her top side. She has a vision right there. And what she's going to end up seeing is she's going to end up seeing that LeBlanc resets. Viega's going to be able to get her, or sorry, it doesn't reset. She's still in her lane, or she's just not in her lane. So once LeBlanc's not in lane, and they look to make a big play on bot side, what Viega can do is he can force push, and they can look to make a play off top side off of the vision they have up there to know that they can see if LeBlanc ends up wanting to come up to defend, and they can just look to literally just 3-man the set on top side, right? Between Viego, Diana, and Lee Sin, diving Sett becomes a lot easier, just due to how much damage you're putting out in such a short period of time, right? So they end up not diving Sett right away because Sett's not really in a position to be dove. Instead, what they look to end up do is they end up using the priority in mid and top, as well as the fact that they just use Rumble out bot side to take a free Herald. Herald is okay at this stage in the game. It's not great just due to the fact that it's already 15 minutes, plates are already down. But considering the fact that, literally none of Diana's camps are up and she had priority in the lanes anyway, and the fact that it basically can't be countered without Rumble ult, she's going to look to turn this Herald into a top tower with a dive on side here. So everyone walks. Sett's E and W, I believe, are already down. Oh, no. People has W cooldown come back up. But still, it's not enough. There's just way too much damage involved. So at this stage in the game, once they get pushed off tower by Rumble ult, things kind of devolve like I do. Like I say, I mostly do early games, or at least on this channel I do early games, because after that point, it's a little bit too hard to talk about the overall macros that are going in the game, especially when it comes to Proviews, without being able to see the whole map, right? So if I'm just seeing one person's POV, it's a little bit more difficult to talk about. It's not something really I'm going to talk about on this channel, at least yet. So yeah, there's a lot of things that kind of went over here. I guess I have the time, and for some reason I hate myself, so I guess I'll go over the second thing that I was going over earlier, which was another EDG game. Really quick, just so I have the... So this is another game of Flandre Sett, except we're watching EDG's POV. It's going to be EDG versus OMG, Sett versus Lee Sin. This is a matchup that's been popping up quite a bit. Both of the games that I'm recording on today are from July 6th, right? So they're a couple patches behind. In this game specifically, the thing that's mostly noted is the fact that Stridebreaker still has its stash, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. That's why these matchups are still being played. That's why these kinds of things are still showing up. But I still think it's nice to talk about when it comes to jungle pathing and just the ways to play certain lanes, right? So the way that even when Lee Sin was like basically the most unbeatable solo laner in the game, Sett was never a good matchup for him, right? The main reason that Sett has never been a good matchup for him is due to the way that Sett wants to play, and due to the way that Sett can kind of just zone Lee Sin away from the way that he wants to play, right? The reason Lee Sin was so strong is the fact that E-spam was so powerful and so potent and did so much damage, especially early on, and the fact that he could basically look to insta-clear waves off either 2Es or E Iron Spike Whip once he got that, right? So what Sett does, it stops Lee Sin from actually able to do that due to the fact that Sett can just stand in wave, take short trades with E and then auto attacks, and the fact that pretty much any trade that ends up going even between Sett and Lee Sin, Sett will have actually won just due to the fact that his passive gives him so much health regen, right? That's just like natural things, and you can apply this to a lot of different champions. If your champion is playing regen versus or like some sort of like a lifesteal or regeneration passive or some ability, right? If you're playing regen versus like no regen, whenever you're taking even trades, you're winning, right? So you need to look to take even trades in those kinds of matchups because a lot of other champions won't have the kind of sustain that you do, right? We're looking at champions like what Sett, Renekton, I guess you can say Garen in some spots with his passive. It's like you're just trading to ensure that like because you have access to like to levels of HP that other champions don't. So like I said a second ago, as long as Sett is taking these short trades, he'll pretty much always win out in the end, just in a kind of like just sustaining through a lot of the damage that is getting done, right? Okay, so Xin Zhao takes an odd clear I've never really seen before in this game. He ends up doing his own Raptors into Trundle's topside, right? Because one thing that you really can kind of note about Trundle, while Trundle is strong, Trundle jungle is strong, I think Trundle top has its spots. Its first clear is not the fastest clear in the world, right? He normally has to 4 camp. He doesn't do very well clearing camps like it just takes him a long time to clear camps like Krugs and camps like Raptors due to the fact that he's pretty much all single target and all auto attacks. So Xin Zhao just kind of taking advantage of this by just quickly getting level 2 and then invading his topside, knowing that if they were to fight early on, Xin Zhao would probably beat Trundle in the 1v1, or at least would have priority solo lanes, like knowing that he has the Sett, knowing that he has the Lulu. They're both going to have push, so if they meet in topside jungle, forcing vertical is the best thing that could happen to him here, right? So Sett walks up with his wave. The main reason he does that is to ensure that Lee Sin can't, because one way that Lee Sin can kind of get around the difficulty of this level 1 lane is by getting push early by just walking in and just eating the wave early, right? And what this could allow him to do is it could allow him to force level 2 early and then look for an all-in while Sett's still level 1, or at least while Sett's still gaining his level 2. With Sett walking up with the wave, this kind of denies everything that Lee Sin can really realistically do, and instead it just basically controls the speed at which the wave pushes for the rest of the lane, right? Because of the fact that, again, Lee Sin can't really set up the wave to auto attack without taking an E-auto trade, and the fact that Sett will win those E-auto trades early on without Lee Sin having the extra tactic from multiple abilities being able to proc his passive at once, Sett will basically always win these trades. And if they decide to have an all-in, he'll also win the all-in. So Sett can control the wave here. Now that Sett's E is down, Lee Sin's looking for E trades. Sett does a good job of kind of tethering Lee Sin's E with the rest of the wave to ensure that kind of like he can't be traded on while his E is down, right? He leaves these minions up literally just to look to get a stun trade on Lee Sin. He ends up getting it. It feels good, right? This is what you kind of have to do on the Lee Sin versus Sett lane. You have to just make sure that you are positioning yourself well enough in the wave to get those kinds of like those E stuns on Lee Sin. So one thing that Sett would normally do in this situation, I know that Sett sometimes takes W, sometimes takes Q. Situations like this, Sett basically has to take W, because one thing that Lee Sin can look to do in the lane is once he has E and Q, if Sett doesn't take W, Lee Sin can look for a full all-in, knowing that he doesn't, because like the main thing that makes it difficult for Lee Sin to look for full all-ins against Sett is W shield, right? So if Lee Sin takes Q and he doesn't actually have the W shield to kind of sustain through and kind of get that big true damage burst off, what ends up happening is Lee Sin can look to kind of win the lane at level 2 if Sett makes a mistake, right? So Sett taking W kind of negates this, assuming that he uses W correctly. Alright, so again, he's playing in the wave. He knows he can pretty much do whatever he wants to, just because of the fact that Xin Zhao's forced vertical. When you force vertical, it basically means that Trundle can't come top for like the first 5 minutes of the game or so. And you can basically just perma push up to this point. So you're going to see Sett just kind of walk up here. What I think he honestly should have done is just taken a reset here. You're in a situation where you don't have the same kind of mid laner that they had last game, which is the LeBlanc. So Lulu's not going to come up and like dive this with you, right? And on top of that, Lee Sin hasn't been chunked nearly low enough to make a two-man dive actually work. So this needs to be something that's like communicated before the wave actually comes in. Because if it's communicated before the wave comes in, what Sett is allowed to do is he's allowed to just reset, grab like a call or maybe like a longsword or something, and just walk back to lane for free. But just kind of walking up here in a spot where he's literally just basically watching Lee Sin just farm minions that he can't stop him farming anyway because he's under his tower level 3 doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, right? If you're going to dive, it has to be said before Xin Zhao actually gets there, right? It looks like Xin Zhao pings that he might do it, but then again, Lee Sin's way too high, this dive never works. So he ends up just kind of going off anyway. So I don't know if that's Xin Zhao griefing him or that's not something where they really discussed it ahead of time, but that has to be discussed ahead of time before the wave actually comes in, if you're going to be diving. So again, because of what I talked about earlier, Trundle can't possibly be topside. So Sett just kind of gets to push for free here. Lee Sin can't stop him because Sett wins the 1v1, assuming no mistakes. So he just kind of gets perma prio to ensure that Lee Sin can't move on to Crab, if a Crab fight ends up occurring in topside. So the main mistake made here, right, is not the trade. The initial trade is fine, right? The mistake is Wing towards Lee Sin before the Q falls off, right? So Wing towards Lee Sin for the damage is totally fine, but the problem is, as long as the Q is tagged to you, one thing you have to remember is that every dash in League of Legends that dashes you to a champion will place you behind the champion, right? So if you're Wing while Lee Sin's Q is still active, you're basically saying, I don't want to hit my W, right? Because there's no way you ever do it because you're Wing towards him, right? You have to wait for the Q to fall off before Wing, or wait until he takes a second Q to actually throw it out, right? Because he ends up having to blow flash here. However, if he were to wait and Lee Sin took the Q, if he hits him with true damage on W, I'm pretty sure he actually wins that 1v1. Just based off of his passive stand and just his natural damage at this stage in the game. Right? He could have actually ended up flashing offensively, flashing onto the Lee Sin with E, and look to actually kill him in that 1v1, right? So I think this is kind of his mistake for looking to stay on the wave. I think, again, they're trying to see if maybe Xin Zhao can come up and punish Lee Sin for TPing, but it's not really something you can realistically do because Lee Sin isn't hard pushing the wave in, right? Once Sett realizes Lee Sin isn't hard pushing the wave in, he just kind of looks to reset and just kind of go TP for TP, right? So he gets that, he gets a pot, and he resets. So now at this stage, Sett's a lot stronger than Lee Sin is. He's basically playing pickaxe to it's pickaxe to Doran Shield is the difference in their item, right? With Sett already winning the lane naturally just through the way the lane works, having that extra 25 AD on Lee Sin matters a whole lot. It basically means that you can't ever realistically lose a fight to this champion that you shouldn't be losing to anyway. So like it stacks on itself. So again, he just kind of holds here. This is the first time. This is realistically the first time that Trundle can actually be topside. Once Flandre kind of understands that with Xin Zhao being on top side, and this is the first time that Trundle can be on. Xin Zhao being on bot side, and this is the first time that Trundle can realistically be on top side. He starts to concede wave to Lee Sin, right? He knows that there's a chance that either Trundle could be coming for a lane gank or coming around. He can't come through Tri just because of ward, but he could be coming for a lane gank, coming for something to make a play on the Sett. Sett doesn't have flash. He knows he's vulnerable enough at this stage. And what do you know? Trundle's up here, right? So this is something that I think he actually plays the gank really, really well. One thing that you can do in this spot, not even being 6 yet, is when Sett positions himself against the wall like that. Normally, positioning yourself against the wall isn't great because you're putting yourself in a spot where you can't really easily dodge skill shots. There's not any skill shots to dodge here, number one. Number two, you're going against 2 melee characters, right? So you're putting yourself in a spot where if they want to do anything to you, they're putting themselves in a spot to get guaranteed ED, right? And both of them are going to get stunned, and they can't really do anything to you, right? Lee Sin has his ult, yeah, sure, but Trundle doesn't yet, so they can't realistically sit there and like just full on dive you like that. That dive never actually works, especially like normally it's just due to Sett shield because they played it so poorly and because Sett played it so well. They're in a situation where they can't actually look to get anything out of it. So they just do it. They try to do it because they know this Inzao has to be on bot side. It doesn't work because obviously it doesn't work, but yeah, it ends up working out for Sett. He played it well. So this is kind of grief from them. I mean, Sett hit 6. You know that he does this much damage. You know that you're in a spot where you can't realistically dodge Haymaker. So why are you actually looking for this kind of a kill? If Lee Sin doesn't take as much damage from tower on the initial dive, or weirdly enough, if the initial dive doesn't happen, this play is totally fine, right? But because Lee Sin doesn't have ultimate, Sett does, and they burnt so much HP and so much time earlier, that play can never ever ever work unless Trundle's at least level 6. And unfortunately he's not, so that ends up happening. They end up throwing the lane really, really hard. So there's one more situation I kind of want to discuss here, right? So things are kind of coming back to the wave. Trundle ended up showing topside, so that Lee Sin... Sorry, Trundle shows topside a moment ago. Where is it? Oops, sorry, it's buffering. Okay, so this wave comes in. I'm just going to kind of talk about what I want to talk about a little bit right now. One thing that has to be noted is earlier on, when both top laners TP back to their lane, Lee Sin TP is a solid 30 seconds faster earlier than Sett does. Maybe 35, right? So that has to be communicated that there's a 30-second window where they have TP advantage that you can't possibly look to match, right? As TPs are starting to come down and starting to wind down back to their initial cooldown, players have to be fully aware that that window exists. So bot side has to be extra conservative around this window because at this level of pro play, both teams, or at the very least, both teams should be aware that OMG's window to make a play on bot side or any other side of the map with TPs is that 30-second window, right? And that's coming up in 100 seconds. Or not 100 seconds, I guess you could say 80 seconds. Wait, no, it is 100 seconds. What am I talking about? It's at 140. Sorry, it's a little blurry for me. Also, again, it's 3:30 a.m. So, yep, vision on Herald. Basically, just keep them off of it. They're kind of looking for Sett to be able to get safe priority before they can actually realistically make a play on anyone at Herald. He continues to get chunks on Lee Sin. It feels nice. Now that he's got the chunk on Lee Sin and he has inside track on top lane, he's going to be able to get priority. They can now walk down and take the Herald for free, right? Thresh is top side. You know that their support, even if he's up there, you win the 4v4, just given the fact that how strong Sett is in this kind of a scenario. You end up catching the Trundle. That feels really nice. That comes out for free, right? So they turn that priority in mid and top, as well as the fact that Sett's just set at this stage in the game. Turn that into a free Herald, right? So now 75 seconds left on TP. That window where Lee Sin has it and Sett doesn't is fastly approaching, right? So what ends up happening is Sett gets this in. He takes a tower plate. Once Lee Sin shows, he has to back off. Trundle will most likely be on top side at this stage, right? So Trundle's clearing his top camps, maybe walking into top lane. Eventually, Trundle shows on vision, right? Trundle shows on vision. He basically just shows to ensure that that Lee Sin can get push in and look for that TP play on bot side, right? So this play that Affiliate Special making is pretty ill advised again because I talked about it a second ago. You know that you're missing TP advantage, right? You know that this is the one window they can look to make a play. There's still 17 seconds left in Sett's TP. They're going to look to do it, right? So obviously, because Trundle shows up top, they make a double TP play bot side. I think they end up just getting a free kill for that. Now Sett has a pretty big decision to make at this stage, right? Or they have the large decision to make as a team. They can either have Sett hold TP and just kind of look to push in the wave, and then TP bot if they look to make a play on Drake that's spawning soon, or Sett can basically just look to chunk the tower, right? Obviously, Sett looks to chunk the tower because at this stage in the game, Sett essentially has ridiculous tower taking potential just with how much damage is Q and just basic. I guess every other auto applies to towers. It kind of puts him in a spot where he can just kind of chunk down the tower, take pretty much all the plates in his own, and put himself in a spot where he's just so insanely ahead of just the rest of the game, right? So one thing that I talked about earlier was Sett itemization here, right? So I don't necessarily understand why Sett decides to go for Stridebreaker. I mean, I understand it, like, Stridebreaker was still a pretty strong item. It still had the mobility on it. It's good for playmaking. I understand why someone would go Stridebreaker. But in this case, you're playing against 4 champions that have to be on top of you in order to deal damage. The fact that you have a Phelios Lulu and you have enough, you're basically playing a comp that's designed to peel with Xin Zhao. In normal League of Legends, I feel like you wouldn't normally play this comp with Xin Zhao, just with Xin Zhao being as strong as he is right now. Obviously, you play it with him, right? But because you have all these things like in motion, right? You're playing with a comp that basically revolves around Aphelios. You're looking to you're playing against 4 melees. You're playing against 4 people that have to be in your range in order to deal damage. I think that going Gordrinker over Stridebreaker makes so much more sense here, right? Because in any given fight, you're going to have between 2 and 4 people on top of you, being Lee Sin, Trundle, Silas, and Nautilus, right? So why would you ever put yourself in a spot? Why do you need the dash in this kind of a game, right? You could say you need it for the playmaking. However, do you need to make plays when they have to be on top of you to do anything? No, I don't think that you do, right? And again, do you need to make plays when your team outscales with a Philios Lulu? No, I don't think that you do. I really don't think you do, especially when you already have a lead like this at 11 minutes. I'm just going to talk this up as just kind of LPL wanting to make plays and be aggressive, but again, I think in this kind of a situation, you really have to take note about what kind of enemy champions are on the other team and how they want to deal damage. This is a spot where Gordrinker is stronger than Stridebreaker every day of the week, in my opinion. Right? So aside from that, this pretty much ends this VOD review. This is the second time I've recorded this tonight. I'm hoping I didn't miss anything just out of pure frustration. If I did or I said anything that's kind of weird, it's just because of the fact that honestly it's 3:30 in the morning and I've had to record this 2 times. So thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for listening. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to see, and I'll talk to you later.